You got defensive. You said I didn't understand. Because I didn't have children. You said Emily needed help getting established, so I backed off. I thought if I kept pushing, I'd lose you too. I remembered that conversation. Remembered feeling like Patricia was attacking my parenting, questioning my love for Emily. Now I saw it differently. Patricia had been trying to save me, and I'd shut her down. I'm sorry, I whispered. Don't apologize. Just promise me you won't back down now. Promise me you'll see this through no matter how hard Emily fights. I thought about Emily's face on my lawn earlier, the cold calculation in her eyes when she realized I'd gotten ahead of her with Dr. Patel's evaluation. The way she'd cycled from tears to rage in seconds, like flipping a switch. I promise, I said. I'm done being her victim. That night, Patricia slept in my guest room, the room I'd kept made up for Emily's visits that never came. Dolores went home to her own house but left her porch light on a signal that she was awake and available if I needed her. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Patricia's soft snoring through the wall. Having my sister here made the house feel less haunted, less violated. Having someone on my side, really, truly on my side, with no ulterior motive, felt like oxygen after drowning. My phone buzzed one last time before I turned it off for the night. Emily, I hope you're satisfied. Lily cried herself to sleep tonight asking why Grandma doesn't want her anymore. I had to tell her that Grandma is sick and doesn't understand what she's doing. Do you know how hard that was? Explaining to a 4-year-old that her grandmother has lost her mind? This is on you, Mom. All of this is on you. I read the message 3 times, feeling each word like a physical blow. Then I did something I'd never done before. I blocked Emily's number. The silence that followed was immediate and profound. No more buzzing. No more manipulation. No more lies wrapped in guilt, wrapped in fake concern. Just silence. And in that silence, for the first time in 4 days, I fell into something that resembled sleep. Tomorrow, APS would come. Tomorrow, I would have to prove my competency, my sanity, my right to control my own life. Tomorrow, the war would continue. But tonight, in the quiet darkness with my sister sleeping nearby and Dolores's porch light glowing through the window, I let myself rest. I'd earned that much. At least that much. I woke at 6:30 a.m. to the smell of coffee and the sound of Patricia moving around in the kitchen. For one blissful moment, still caught between sleep and waking, I forgot everything. Then reality crashed back. The confrontation yesterday, the APS visit scheduled for 10 a.m., Emily's text about Lily crying herself to sleep. My stomach twisted into knots. I forced myself out of bed, knowing that if I stayed under the covers, I'd never get up. The woman in the bathroom mirror looked older than her 68 years, hollow-eyed, gaunt-cheeked, aged by grief in ways that time alone couldn't accomplish. But I was still standing. That counted for something. In the kitchen, Patricia had already set out my medications with a glass of water, just vitamins and calcium, nothing that suggested any health problems. She'd also made scrambled eggs and toast, comfort food from our childhood. You need to eat, she said, not asking, just stating fact. Miss Torres will notice if you look malnourished. We want you looking healthy and capable, not like someone who's falling apart. I picked at the eggs, managing a few bites before my stomach rebelled. I can't. I'm too nervous. Try. Just a little more. Patricia's voice was gentle but firm, the same tone she'd used when we were kids and I was sick. You need strength for today. At 9:15, Dolores knocked on the door carrying a tray of homemade conchas, sweet Mexican pastries. For after the meeting, she explained, to celebrate when it goes well. Because it will go well, mija. You'll see. At 9:45, a silver Toyota Camry pulled into my driveway. Through the window, I watched a woman in her mid-40s get out Catherine Torres, I assumed. She wore professional clothes, carried a leather portfolio, and had kind eyes that reminded me of the social workers I'd known during my nursing career. The ones who actually cared, not the ones just checking boxes. Patricia squeezed my hand. Remember, you're the victim here. You have nothing to hide. Just tell the truth. I opened the door before Miss Torres could knock, not wanting her to think I was reluctant or hiding. Mrs. Sullivan? She had a warm smile, but her eyes were already assessing, taking in my appearance, the entryway behind me, everything. I'm Catherine Torres from Adult Protective Services. Thank you for meeting with me. Please, come in. This is my sister Patricia and my neighbor Dolores Martinez. We settled in the living room, the same room where Emily had declared war just days ago. I'd spent last night washing away that contamination, trying to reclaim the space. Miss Torres pulled out a notepad and a form. Mrs. Sullivan, I want to start by explaining why I'm here. We received a report not from your daughter actually, but from your attorney Marcus Rodriguez, indicating that you may be experiencing financial exploitation by family members. Is that correct? Yes. My voice came out stronger than I expected. My daughter Emily and her husband Kevin have taken approximately $847,000 from me over the past 4 years. When I stopped the payments, they began threatening to have me declared mentally incompetent so they could take control of my remaining assets. Miss Torres's eyebrows rose slightly. That's a significant amount. Can you walk me through how this happened? I pulled out my spreadsheet, the one I'd made that terrible night. Seeing it printed on paper, official and undeniable, made it feel even more real. I've documented everything here. Mortgage payments, down payment, IVF treatments, vehicles, furniture, vacations, all of it. She studied the spreadsheet in silence, her expression growing more serious with each line item. When she reached the total, she let out a low whistle. Mrs. Sullivan, you're aware this constitutes severe financial exploitation? I am now. I wasn't before. I thought. My voice cracked. I thought I was helping my daughter. I thought that's what mothers do. Helping is giving someone $500 for groceries when they're struggling. This, she tapped the spreadsheet. This is something else entirely. Tell me what happened when you stopped the payments. I told her everything. The birthday party I'd planned that Emily skipped. The Facebook post celebrating with Kevin's family while I sat alone. The phone call where Emily threatened me. The breaking and entering to steal my checkbook. The missing jewelry. The coordinated campaign to paint me as mentally incompetent. Patricia interjected with what she'd witnessed at family gatherings, Emily's lies to relatives about supporting me, the seeds of doubt about my mental state, planted years in advance. Dolores described yesterday's confrontation, Emily's rage, Kevin's cold threats, Robert Chen's manipulation, Dr. Whitmore's attempt to conduct an involuntary evaluation. Miss Torres took notes continuously, her expression growing darker. When we finished, she sat back and looked at me with something that might have been respect. Mrs. Sullivan, I've been doing this job for 18 years. I've seen hundreds of elder abuse cases. What you're describing is one of the most systematic financial exploitations I've encountered. Your daughter didn't just take advantage of your generosity, she orchestrated it. She created dependency, then used that dependency as leverage. So I'm not crazy? I'm not being paranoid or dramatic? Not even close. You're being remarkably clear-headed, actually. Many victims in your situation can't even see the abuse, much less fight back against it. She flipped through her notes. Now, I need to do a standard assessment. It's routine, nothing personal. I'll ask some questions, tour your home, review your ability to manage daily activities. Is that okay? Yes, of course. The assessment took 45 minutes, Miss Torres asked me about my daily routine. Could I cook for myself, clean, manage medications, pay bills, drive safely? She checked my refrigerator, well-stocked, my bathroom, clean and organized, my bedroom tidy, bed made, my financial records, meticulously maintained. She asked cognitive questions. What's today's date? Who's the president? Can you count backward from 100 by threes? Can you explain how you'd handle a financial emergency? Every answer I gave seemed to satisfy her more. By the time we returned to the living room, she was almost smiling. Mrs. Sullivan, I'm going to be frank with you. There is absolutely nothing in my assessment that suggests cognitive impairment, self-neglect, or inability to manage your affairs. Your home is clean and well-maintained. You're articulate and oriented. Your financial records are better organized than mine. She closed her portfolio. What I see is a competent, intelligent woman who was systematically exploited by people who should have protected her. The relief was so intense I felt dizzy. So you'll put that in your report? I'll do more than that. I'm recommending immediate intervention. Your case warrants protective services, legal support, and potentially criminal investigation. The amount involved, nearly $1 million, crosses the threshold for felony elder abuse in California. Patricia leaned forward. What does that mean practically? It means I'm contacting the district attorney's office. They have an elder abuse unit that prosecutes these cases. I'm also flagging this case as high priority, which means if Emily or Kevin try to file for conservatorship, APS will be there to oppose it. We'll provide testimony, evidence, everything needed to protect Margaret's autonomy. They can't just have me declared incompetent? My voice was small, frightened. They can try, but they'll have to overcome my report, Dr. Patel's evaluation, your documented financial competence, and the fact that you're the victim, not the perpetrator. Judges aren't stupid, Mrs. Sullivan. They can see financial motivation a mile away. After Miss Torres left, promising to send her full report within 48 hours, the three of us sat in stunned silence. Then Dolores started crying. Happy tears, she insisted, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. I told you, Misha. I told you it would be okay. Patricia pulled me into a hug. You did it, Maggie. You protected yourself. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt exhausted, hollow, like I'd won a battle but the war was far from over. My phone rang Marcus Rodriguez. I'd unblocked non-Emily numbers that morning, needing to stay connected to my support system. Margaret, how did it go with APS? She believed me. She's recommending intervention and contacting the DA's office. That's excellent news. I have some news too, both good and complicated. The good news is Dr. Patel's report came through. It's stellar. She didn't just find you competent. She documented that your cognitive function is above average for your age group. She also noted signs of acute stress consistent with being the victim of emotional abuse. And the complicated news? Emily filed for conservatorship this morning. Emergency petition. She's claiming you're in imminent danger of financial exploitation by unscrupulous neighbors and attorneys that would be Dolores and me, and that immediate intervention is necessary to protect you. The room spun. Patricia grabbed my arm to steady me. She's trying to have me taken away? Like I'm a child? She's trying. But Margaret, we expected this. We're ready. I've already filed our opposition, including Dr. Patel's report, Miss Torres's preliminary findings, and the police reports about the theft. The judge will see both petitions, hers and ours. There's a hearing scheduled for next Friday. Next Friday? That was only 6 days away. Can we be ready? We're already ready. But I need you to do something that's going to be difficult. I need you to stay calm and composed this week. Emily is going to escalate. She's going to pull out every manipulation tactic in the book. She might send people to your house. She might post on social media. She might try to turn family and friends against you. You cannot engage. Every interaction gives her ammunition. Do you understand? I understand. But understanding and enduring were different things. That afternoon, the escalation began. First, a knock on the door. An older woman I vaguely recognized from Emily's church stood on my porch holding a casserole dish. Mrs. Sullivan? I'm Barbara Chen, Kevin's mother. We met briefly at the wedding. May I come in? Every instinct screamed to slam the door, but Patricia touched my shoulder and whispered, "Let her in. We'll handle this together." Barbara Chen was elegant in an intimidating way, perfectly coiffed silver hair, expensive clothes, the bearing of someone used to getting her way. She swept into my living room like she owned it. "I'll get straight to the point," she said, not bothering with pleasantries. "My son and his wife are distraught. My granddaughter is confused and hurting. And you, Mrs. Sullivan, are the cause of all of it." Patricia stiffened beside me, but I held up a hand. "Let Barbara say her piece. Emily has told me everything about your situation. How you've become paranoid and hostile. How you're making wild accusations against two people who've done nothing but love and support you. How you've fallen under the influence of strangers who are clearly taking advantage of your diminished capacity." "I've fallen under the influence of no one," I said quietly. "I simply stopped allowing myself to be financially exploited." Barbara's eyes narrowed. "Financially exploited? Emily and Kevin borrowed money from you, yes, as family does, with every intention of paying you back when their situation improved. That's not exploitation. That's family helping family. Did Emily tell you how much she borrowed?" Patricia interjected. $847,000 over 4 years. Not $1 of it repaid. Barbara's composure slipped for just a second, a flicker of surprise quickly masked. That seems high. Emily said it was closer to 300,000. So Emily had lied to Kevin's parents too. Minimized the damage. Of course she had. I have documentation, I said. Bank statements, canceled checks, transfer records, every dollar tracked and verified. Would you like to see it? That's not necessary. I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding about the amount. But Barbara's voice had lost some of its certainty. Regardless, cutting them off without warning, refusing to help with basic necessities like their mortgage, that's cruel, Mrs. Sullivan. Especially given how much they've sacrificed to be there for you. What have they sacrificed? The question came out sharper than I intended. What have Emily and Kevin ever sacrificed for me? Their time, their energy. Emily calls you every day. Emily calls when she needs money. When was the last time she called just to talk? When was the last time she visited without asking for something? Barbara opened her mouth, then closed it. She didn't have an answer. Mrs. Chen, Patricia said, her voice icy, did Emily tell you she missed my sister's 68th birthday? That she skipped it to attend a party your family threw for Kevin? Did she mention that? Or did she leave that part out? The party was a surprise. Emily couldn't have known. She knew. Margaret told her weeks in advance. She chose your family over her mother. Then she chose to rub it in by posting pictures on Facebook while Margaret sat alone with a birthday cake no one ate. Barbara stood up, her face flushed. I didn't come here to be attacked. I came to offer help, to be a voice of reason. But I can see you're all too caught up in this delusion to accept it. She turned to me, and there was something almost pitying in her expression. Mrs. Sullivan, when this conservatorship goes through, and it will, I hope you'll understand that we did this out of love. That we tried to help you before it came to legal intervention. Get out of my house, I said, standing to face her, and tell your son and my daughter that if they want to fight me, they should have the courage to do it themselves instead of sending proxies. After Barbara left, I collapsed back onto the couch, shaking. She thinks I'm crazy. She completely believes Emily's version. Of course she does, Dolores said. Emily is married to her son. She's going to believe her daughter-in-law over a stranger. But Margaret, did you see her face when Patricia mentioned the 800,000? She didn't know. Emily lied to them too. Will it matter? Will they change their minds? Patricia shook her head slowly. Probably not. People believe what they want to believe. And Kevin's parents want to believe their son married a good woman, not a manipulative thief. Accepting the truth would mean accepting they raised a son who'd exploit his elderly mother-in-law. That evening, my phone started buzzing with Facebook notifications. Against my better judgment, I checked. Emily had posted a long, emotional message. I don't usually share personal struggles publicly, but I'm at a breaking point and need prayers. My mom is going through something really difficult, cognitive decline that's happening so fast it's terrifying. She's become paranoid, accusing family of terrible things, pushing away everyone who loves her. We've tried to help, but she won't accept it. Now we're forced to take legal action to protect her from people who are taking advantage of her vulnerable state. Please pray for her. Pray for our family. This is the hardest thing I've ever been through. Number prayers needed number, Alzheimer's awareness number, family strength number, heartbroken. The post had 167 reactions in under 2 hours. The comments were a chorus of support. Sending prayers. So sorry you're going through this. You're such a good daughter for fighting for her. Alzheimer's is so cruel. Stay strong, Dottie. Have you looked into memory care facilities? My mom is in a great one. Not one person questioned Emily's narrative. Not one person thought to ask for my side. Emily had successfully cast herself as the devoted daughter fighting to save her delusional mother. And I couldn't fight back without looking exactly like what she claimed I was paranoid and irrational. Don't respond, Marcus had said. Let her build her castle of lies. But watching those reactions pile up, reading those comments from people I'd known for years, people who believed I'd lost my mind, it felt like watching myself be erased. Like Emily was writing a new story where I didn't exist except as a tragic figure who needed to be saved from myself. Patricia found me staring at my phone, tears streaming down my face. She took it from my hands and turned it off. Maggie, look at me. Those people don't matter. Their opinions don't matter. What matters is the truth, and the truth will come out in court. Emily can control the narrative on Facebook, but she can't control what a judge sees when they review bank records and medical evaluations. But what if the judge believes her? What if I end up in some facility, drugged and helpless, while Emily sells my house and spends the money on another vacation? That's not going to happen. We won't let it happen. But the fear was rational. I'd seen it happen during my nursing career. Elderly patients whose families had gained conservatorship, who'd been placed in facilities against their will, who'd had their entire lives stripped away because someone decided they were no longer competent to make their own choices. Some of those patients had been perfectly lucid, but they'd been old and alone and easy to dismiss. Just like me. That night, I lay awake listening to Patricia's breathing in the next room and wondering if this was how it would end. Not with Emily realizing what she'd done and apologizing. Not with reconciliation and healing, but with me locked away somewhere, declared incompetent, my house sold, my money gone, everything Patrick and I had built together dissolved to fund Emily's lifestyle. The fear was a physical thing, sitting on my chest like a boulder. But underneath the fear, something else was growing. Something harder and colder and more determined. Emily wanted a war? Fine. She'd get one. But I wasn't going to fight fair anymore. I was going to fight to win. The next morning brought a certified letter. I saw the mail carrier walk it to my door, watched through the window as she rang the bell, and waited for my signature. Patricia answered, signed for it, and brought me the thick manila envelope with the Los Angeles Superior Court seal. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were 37 pages of legal documents, Emily and Kevin's formal petition for conservatorship of person and estate. The words swam on the page. Petitioners respectfully request. Mental incapacity. Unable to manage financial affairs. Poses danger to herself and others. Immediate intervention required. But it was the attachments that destroyed me. Exhibit A. A sworn statement from Dr. Vanessa Whitmore, claiming that during her brief observation of me, I displayed significant signs of cognitive impairment, including paranoid delusions, memory deficits, poor judgment, and hostility toward family members. She recommended immediate psychiatric intervention and possible institutionalization. She'd never examined me. We'd spoken for maybe 5 minutes on my lawn before I'd told her to leave. But here she was, swearing under oath that I was mentally incompetent. Exhibit B. A statement from Barbara Chen describing how I'd been confused and aggressive during her visit, making wild accusations against her son and displaying clear signs of dementia. I'd been angry, yes, but confused? I'd been crystal clear about exactly what Emily had done. Exhibit C. Statements from 3 of Emily's friends, women I'd invited to my home, women I'd been kind to over the years, all claiming they'd noticed concerning changes in my behavior over the past year. Forgetfulness. Repetitive stories. Paranoid comments about people stealing from me. All lies. Coordinated, calculated lies. But the worst was Exhibit D. A letter from my former hairstylist Cynthia stating that during my last appointment, the one I'd treated myself to after canceling the mortgage, I'd seemed disoriented and confused, asking her the same questions multiple times and becoming inexplicably emotional. I'd cried in her chair because I was heartbroken. I'd been processing the betrayal, but Cynthia had taken my tears, twisted them, and turned them into evidence of mental decline. The paper slipped from my fingers. I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning, black spots crowding my vision. "Maggie," Patricia's voice came from far away. "Put your head down, you're hyperventilating." But I couldn't put my head down, couldn't move. The betrayal was too complete, too overwhelming. These weren't just strangers believing Emily's lies. These were people I'd known. People who'd smiled to my face and then signed legal documents declaring me insane. I made it to the bathroom just in time to vomit. Again and again, my body trying to purge the poison of this knowledge. When there was nothing left, I slumped against the cold tile, Patricia's hand on my back. "They're going to win," I whispered. "Look at all this. They have doctors, witnesses, statements. What do I have? Me saying I'm not crazy? You have Dr. Patel's evaluation, Miss Torres's report, your bank records proving 40 years of competent financial management, your work history at Kaiser. You have truth, Maggie. That counts for something. Does it?" Or does it just matter who tells the better story? Patricia didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was quiet and sad. Sometimes it does come down to storytelling. That's why we need to make sure your story gets heard, clearly and completely. We called Marcus immediately. He arrived within an hour, his expression grim as he reviewed the petition. "This is aggressive," he said, flipping through pages, "more aggressive than I expected. They're not messing around. They want full conservatorship control of your finances, your medical decisions, your living situation, everything. Can they get it? With this many witnesses? It's possible." Judges tend to err on the side of caution with elderly petitioners. If they believe there's even a chance you're incompetent and vulnerable, they might grant the conservatorship for your own protection. The words hit like hammer blows. For your own protection. The same words used to lock people away, to strip them of autonomy, to treat them like children who couldn't be trusted with their own lives. "What do we do?" Patricia asked. "We fight harder. Margaret, I need you to think, is there anyone else who can testify for you? Former colleagues from Kaiser? Friends who've seen you recently? Anyone who can counter these claims of confusion and dementia?" I tried to think through the fog of panic. My coworkers from Kaiser most had retired or moved away. I'd lost touch with so many people over the years, always too busy with Emily's crises to maintain friendships. "There's Sarah Chen from the bank," I said slowly. "She's seen me every month for years. She can testify about my financial competence." "Good. Who else?" "Dolores's son, Raphael. He changed my locks. He can testify that I was clear-headed and rational." "Dolores herself can testify," Patricia added. "She's witnessed Emily's manipulation firsthand." Marcus wrote names on his notepad. "We need more, preferably professionals. Anyone else?" Then I remembered. Detective Morrison. He took my police reports. He documented everything: the theft, the unauthorized entry, Emily's escalation. He called it elder abuse. Marcus's eyes lit up. "That's perfect. A police detective calling it what it is: elder abuse, not mental illness. That could be powerful." He made more notes. "I'll subpoena him for the hearing. Anyone else?" My mind felt sluggish, struggling to function under the weight of fear. "My doctor, Dr. Reynolds. I've been seeing him for 15 years. He can confirm I have no cognitive issues." "Excellent. I'll contact him today." Marcus closed his notepad. "Margaret, the hearing is Friday, 4 days from now. We have 4 days to build our case and prepare you to testify. Because you will have to testify. You'll have to sit in front of a judge and convince them you're competent while Emily's lawyer tries to make you look confused and unstable. Can you do that?" "Could I? Could I sit in a courtroom and defend my sanity while my daughter sat across from me hoping I'd be declared incompetent, while lawyers questioned my every word, looking for signs of confusion? I don't have a choice, do I?" "No, you don't." That afternoon, Marcus drilled me like a prosecutor preparing a hostile witness. He fired questions at me rapid fire, trying to trip me up, make me confused, catch me in contradictions. "What's your date of birth?" "November 17th, 1957. "What medications do you take?" "Vitamin D, 3,000 IU daily, calcium with vitamin K, a multivitamin, occasional aspirin for headaches." "Any prescriptions?" "No." "When did your husband die?" "September 9th, 2018, 7 years, 1 month, and 7 days ago." My voice cracked on that last part. Patrick's death was still a fresh wound even after all this time. "How did he die?" "Smoke inhalation in a warehouse fire. He was a firefighter. Engine Company 43. "How much money have you given Emily in the past 4 years?" $847,472. Broken down into mortgage payments, down payment, IVF, vehicles, furniture, vacations, childcare, credit card debt, medical bills, and miscellaneous expenses. "Why did you give her that money?" This was the hard question. The one that made me look like either a fool or someone easily manipulated. I took a breath. "Because I loved her. Because she's my daughter. Because every time she asked, she made it sound like an emergency. Like they'd be homeless or Lily would go hungry or their credit would be ruined. Because I believed that if I just helped them through this rough patch, they'd stabilize and we'd have a real relationship. Because I was stupid enough to think love could be purchased." Marcus nodded. "Good. That's honest. But when you're on the stand, Don't call yourself stupid. It gives them ammunition. Instead, say you were generous to a fault, that you prioritized your daughter's needs over your own financial security. That's not stupidity, that's sacrifice. We practiced for 3 hours. By the end, my head was pounding and my throat was raw, but Marcus seemed satisfied. "You're gonna do fine," he said. "Just remember, stay calm. Answer only what's asked. Don't get emotional. If you start crying on the stand, they'll use it as evidence of instability. What if I can't help it? What if seeing Emily across that courtroom breaks me? Then you look at Patricia instead. Or at me. Or at the judge. Anywhere but at Emily. Don't give her the satisfaction of seeing you fall apart." After Marcus left, I sat alone in my living room. Patricia had gone to the grocery store, giving me space to process. The house was too quiet. Every creak of the floorboards, every settling sound, made me jump. I felt like I was waiting for the next attack, the next betrayal. It came at 6:30 p.m. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a young man in jeans and a polo shirt, carrying a clipboard. He didn't look threatening. Maybe he was selling something. I opened the door a crack, the chain still engaged. "Can I help you?" "Margaret Sullivan?" "Yes?" "You've been served." He shoved papers through the crack. "Have a nice day, ma'am." He was back in his car before I could react. The papers fluttered to the ground, more legal documents. This time, it was a temporary restraining order. Against me. Emily and Kevin were claiming I'd been harassing them, sending threatening messages, making unwanted contact, creating a hostile environment that made them fear for their safety and Lily's well-being. The order prohibited me from contacting them in any way. No calls, no texts, no emails, no showing up at their house or workplace, no contact through third parties. Violation would result in immediate arrest. I read it 3 times, not believing what I was seeing. Harassment? I'd blocked Emily's number. I hadn't contacted them at all except to tell them to leave my property. But there, in the exhibits, were screenshots of texts I'd supposedly sent. "You're going to regret stealing from me. I know where you live. I know where Lily goes to preschool. You can't hide forever. I'll make you pay for what you've done." I'd never sent those messages. Never. But they appeared to come from my phone number. Same area code, same last 4 digits. They'd faked them. Somehow, they'd created fake text messages and submitted them as evidence. I was still standing there, frozen in shock, when Patricia came home with groceries. "Maggie, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." I handed her the restraining order, watched her face go from confusion to fury as she read. "This is insane. You didn't send these messages. I've been here, I've seen your phone. You blocked her number." They faked them. They created fake texts and submitted them as evidence. My voice sounded hollow, disconnected from my body. "Patricia, they're painting me as dangerous. As threatening. First I'm crazy, now I'm violent. We'll get this thrown out. Marcus will." "Will he? Look at how official it is. A judge signed this. A judge believed I was threatening my own daughter and granddaughter." I sank onto the couch, the papers crumpling in my hand. They're going to win. They're going to take everything. And I can't stop them. "Don't talk like that. We're not giving up." But what was the point of fighting when Emily could just manufacture evidence? When she had lawyers and money and apparently no moral limits on how far she'd go? My phone rang, Marcus, as if summoned by our crisis. "Margaret, did you get served with a restraining order?" "How did you know?" "Because I just got a copy from opposing counsel. They're required to notify me." "Margaret, tell me you didn't send those texts." The fact that he had to ask felt like a knife to the gut. "No. I blocked Emily 3 days ago. I haven't contacted her at all." That's what I thought. Those messages are fake, probably created using a spoofing app. It's actually not that hard to do. The question is whether we can prove they're fake before the conservatorship hearing. Can we? I'm contacting a digital forensics expert right now. She can analyze your phone, prove those messages never originated from your device. But Margaret, this complicates things. Emily's building a picture of you as unstable and dangerous. First, the dementia. Now threatening behavior. They're creating grounds for an emergency conservatorship, the kind where they can have you removed from your home immediately. Terror seized my throat. "Removed? Where?" A secured facility. Psychiatric hold. Somewhere they claim you'll be safe and can't hurt yourself or others. It's the nuclear option, and it requires pretty extreme evidence, but with a restraining order based on threats. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Emily wasn't just trying to take my money. She was trying to have me locked up. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound, waiting for police to show up and drag me away. Every car that passed made my heart race. Every dog bark made me jump. At 3 a.m., Patricia found me in the living room, sitting in the dark. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked, sitting beside me. "I keep thinking about what happens if they win, if Emily gets conservatorship. She'll sell this house, the house Patrick and I bought when we were newlyweds. She'll put me in some facility where they medicate me into compliance. She'll tell Lily that Grandma was sick and had to go away. And I'll just disappear. Like I never existed except as a source of money. That's not going to happen. How can you be so sure?" Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Because I won't let it. If the worst happens, and I don't think it will, but if it does, I'm taking you to Boston. I don't care what some California court says. You're my sister, and I will not let them lock you away. That would be kidnapping. You'd go to jail. Then I'll go to jail, but you'll be free." She squeezed my hand. "Maggie, I wasn't there for you enough these past few years. I saw what Emily was doing, and I didn't push hard enough to stop it. I won't make that mistake again. Whatever happens, you're not facing it alone." I started crying quiet tears that slipped down my cheeks in the darkness. Not tears of sadness this time, but of gratitude, of love, of the recognition that I'd been so focused on Emily, on this child who'd betrayed me, that I'd forgotten I had another family member who actually cared. "Thank you," I whispered. "Don't thank me. Just promise you'll keep fighting. Promise you won't give up." "I promise." But even as I said it, I wondered if promises meant anything anymore, if truth meant anything. If justice existed for people like me, elderly women whose own children could manufacture evidence and buy doctors' testimony and turn the legal system into a weapon, Friday's hearing would answer that question. 4 more days until I found out whether I'd keep my freedom or lose everything to the daughter I'd loved with every fiber of my being. 4 more days to prepare for the fight of my life. 4 more days to somehow find the strength to walk into that courtroom and convince a judge I deserved to control my own fate. I didn't know if I had that strength, but I was going to have to find it, because the alternative was unthinkable. Wednesday morning arrived with unexpected news. Marcus called at 7:15 a.m., his voice carrying an excitement I hadn't heard before. Margaret, the digital forensics expert, finished her analysis overnight. She found something big. I was already dressed, having given up on sleep around 5. Patricia hovered nearby, watching my face for clues. What did she find? Those text messages, the threatening ones Emily submitted, they're fake. Not just fake, but sloppily fake. The metadata shows they were created using a text generator app called Fake Text Pro. They were never sent from your phone or any phone. They're literally screenshots of a fabrication. And get this, the app leaves a digital watermark that Dr. Kim was able to extract. The messages were created on Tuesday at 4:17 p.m. from an IP address registered to Kevin Chen's home. My knees went weak. I sat down hard on the kitchen chair. They made them up. They created fake evidence and submitted it to a court. Yes, which is perjury, fraud, and possibly criminal misconduct. I'm filing an emergency motion this morning to have the restraining order dismissed and to sanction Emily and Kevin for submitting fabricated evidence. Margaret, this changes everything. A judge is going to be very, very interested in why someone claiming to protect their confused elderly mother would resort to manufacturing threats. Will this affect the conservatorship hearing? It should. It goes directly to credibility. If they're willing to lie about this, what else are they lying about? The dementia claims? The witnesses? All of it becomes suspect. He paused. But Margaret, I need to warn you, this is going to make them even more desperate. Cornered animals are dangerous. They might try something extreme. After we hung up, I told Patricia the news. Her reaction was pure joy. She actually whooped and spun around the kitchen. They screwed up. They finally screwed up in a way that can be proven. Oh, Maggie, this is it. This is the break we needed. But I couldn't share her elation. All I felt was a hollow sadness. My daughter had committed crimes to steal my freedom. My daughter had sat at her computer, created fake threats from her own mother, and submitted them to a court under oath. What had I done to create a person capable of that? The answer came swift and brutal. I'd taught her that she could take anything from me without consequences. That my love was unconditional, and therefore exploitable. That I would always be there, always give in, always sacrifice myself on the altar of motherhood. I'd created this monster through my own blind devotion. At 9 a.m., Dolores knocked with more bad news. She'd been checking the neighborhood Facebook group, yes, there was such a thing, apparently, and found a post from someone I didn't know, a woman named Janet who lived 3 streets over. PSA for Oakwood neighbors. There's an elderly woman on Maple Street, Margaret Sullivan, who's been displaying concerning behavior. Her family is trying to get her help, but she's refusing and has become hostile. If you see her acting strangely or confused, please contact her daughter Emily Chen. Let's look out for our seniors. Neighborhood watch, senior safety. Below were 32 comments, many from people I recognized. My neighbors, people I'd waved to for years. Poor thing. Dementia is so sad. My mom went through this. It's heartbreaking when they don't know they need help. The daughter must be going through hell. Should we call Adult Protective Services? One comment, though, stood out. From a woman named Ruth Goldstein, who I vaguely remembered meeting at a neighborhood barbecue years ago. I'm sorry, but something about this doesn't sit right with me. I've seen Mrs. Sullivan at the library recently. She was perfectly lucid, discussing books, making recommendations. She didn't seem confused at all. Maybe we should hear her side before assuming the worst? Thank God for Ruth Goldstein. But she was drowned out by the chorus of people ready to believe I was a tragic, demented old woman who needed to be saved from herself. This is character assassination, Patricia said, reading over my shoulder. They're poisoning the well, making sure that when this goes to trial, public opinion is already against you. Does public opinion matter in court? It shouldn't. But judges are human. They see things. If Emily's lawyer mentions community concern, neighborhood reports, it adds to the narrative. Dolores was furious. I'm going to comment. I'm going to tell them the truth. No, I said quietly. Don't engage. It's what they want, to fight, drama, more evidence of me being hostile and paranoid. We stay quiet and let the facts speak in court. But staying quiet felt like suffocating. That afternoon, Marcus's emergency motion was heard by Judge Patricia Hernandez. We weren't present, it was a paper hearing, decided on documents alone. At 3:30, Marcus called with the results. Mixed news. The judge dismissed the restraining order against you. The fake texts were too obvious once Dr. Kim's analysis was presented. Emily and Kevin have been ordered to appear for a sanctions hearing to explain why they shouldn't be held in contempt for submitting fabricated evidence. That's good, right? That's great. But here's the problem: Judge Hernandez isn't the judge for Friday's conservatorship hearing. That's Judge Robert Mitchell, and he's known for being traditional, conservative. He tends to favor family unity and gives a lot of deference to adult children claiming to protect elderly parents. Our fake text evidence won't automatically transfer to his courtroom. So we have to prove it all over again? Essentially, yes. But Margaret, having one judge already call their evidence fabricated is powerful. It's precedent. It's ammunition. We just have to make sure Judge Mitchell actually hears about it. Wednesday evening brought another visitor this time, someone I wasn't expecting. Through the window, I saw a woman in her 60s get out of a modest Toyota. She was dressed simply, carried a weathered purse, and had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. Patricia answered the door. Can we help you? I'm looking for Margaret Sullivan. My name is Ruth Goldstein. I'm the one who commented on that Facebook post. I need to talk to her, if she's willing. I came to the door, studying this stranger who defended me online. Mrs. Goldstein? Please, call me Ruth. Mrs. Sullivan, I know we don't know each other well, but I've been watching what's happening to you and I can't stay silent anymore. She clutched her purse tightly. Can I come in? What I have to say isn't for the street. We settled in the living room, Ruth perched on the edge of the couch like she might need to flee at any moment. I didn't know if I should come, she began. I'm not involved in this. I don't want to make trouble, but I keep thinking, what if no one speaks up? What if everyone just accepts the story they're being told? What story? Patricia asked gently. That Mrs. Sullivan is demented and needs to be controlled. I see her daughter posting on Facebook, crying about her poor sick mother. I see neighbors gossiping about the sad situation. And I think, does no one else see what's really happening here? What do you think is happening? I asked. Ruth looked at me directly. I think your daughter is trying to steal from you, and she's using the legal system to do it. The bluntness was shocking and refreshing. Why do you think that? I asked carefully. Because I went through the exact same thing. 20 years ago. My son, my eldest, Daniel, he got into financial trouble, made bad investments, owed people money. He came to me for help, and I gave it. Again and again. I took out a second mortgage on my house to pay his debts, gave him my retirement savings, drained everything. Her hands were shaking slightly. When I finally said no, when there was nothing left to give, he tried to have me declared incompetent. Said I was confused. Giving money to scammers, needed protection. He had doctors lined up, witnesses ready to testify. It went to court. What happened? Patricia leaned forward. I won. Barely. I had one lawyer who believed me. One psychiatrist who saw through the lies. The judge ruled in my favor, but it destroyed my relationship with my son. I haven't spoken to him in 18 years. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't tell people this story. It's shameful, humiliating, admitting your own child tried to rob you. But Mrs. Sullivan, when I saw what's happening to you, I knew I had to speak up, because I know how alone you must feel. I was crying now too. You're the first person besides my sister and my neighbor who's believed me without question. Everyone else thinks I'm crazy or cruel or both. You're not crazy. You're being systematically victimized by someone who knows exactly how to manipulate the system. Ruth pulled a business card from her purse. This is my lawyer, the one who saved me. He's retired now, but he might be willing to consult or even testify about elder financial abuse patterns. May I give him your attorney's information? Yes, please. Thank you. After Ruth left, I sat in stunned silence. This stranger had driven to my house, shared her most painful story, and offered help. Meanwhile, people I'd known for years had turned away or worse, actively aided Emily's campaign against me. There are good people left in the world, Dolores said softly. You just had to find them. Or they found you. Thursday morning, one day before the hearing, Marcus arranged for me to meet Dr. Kim, the digital forensics expert, and Ruth's former lawyer, Howard Brenner. Dr. Kim was a tiny Korean woman in her 30s with sharp eyes and the intensity of someone who loved exposing lies. She walked me through her analysis, showing me the metadata, the watermarks, the digital fingerprints that proved the texts were manufactured. The people who made these weren't sophisticated, she explained. They used a popular app, didn't scrub the metadata, didn't even try to match your texting patterns. If I had to guess, they Googled how to fake text messages and followed the first tutorial they found. Amateurs. Will you testify to this tomorrow? Marcus asked. Absolutely. I've testified in 63 cases. Judges trust my analysis. Once I explain this to Judge Mitchell, there's no way he'll give credibility to anything else they've submitted. Howard Brenner was in his 70s, retired, but still sharp as a blade. He'd brought his case files from Ruth's conservatorship battle 2 decades ago. The patterns are identical, he said, spreading documents on Marcus's conference table. Adult child creates financial dependency, then escalates to claims of incapacity when the money stops. Manufactures évidence. Recruits witnesses. Uses the parent's age against them. It's textbook financial predation. Would you be willing to testify as an expert on elder abuse patterns? Marcus asked. I'd be honored. This kind of predation has only gotten worse with time. These abusers have gotten more sophisticated, but the core pattern remains the same. I can explain to Judge Mitchell exactly what he's seeing, not a confused elderly woman, but a competent victim fighting back against exploitation. By Thursday afternoon, our witness list had grown to 9 people. 1. Dr. Lisa Patel, psychiatric evaluation proving competency. 2. Dr. Kim, digital forensics proving fabricated evidence. 3. Catherine Torres, APS report on elder abuse. 4. Detective Morrison, police reports and testimony on theft. 5. Dr. Reynolds, my physician, confirming no cognitive issues. 6. Sarah Chen Z, banker, testimony on financial competence. 7. Howard Brenner, expert on elder abuse patterns. Ba. Ruth Goldstein, similar survivor, pattern testimony. 9. Patricia Sullivan, family member, eyewitness to abuse. Against Emily's 3 friends, 1 hairstylist, Kevin's mother, and a psychiatrist who'd never actually examined me. "We're ready," Marcus said, "as ready as we can be." But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining tomorrow walking into that courtroom, seeing Emily across the aisle. Would she look remorseful, defiant? Would she cry? Would I? At 2 a.m., I got up and went to Patrick's closet. I hadn't touched his things since he died, couldn't bear to pack them away. His firefighter uniform still hung there, cleaned and pressed, waiting for him to come home and put it on again. I pulled out his dress uniform, the one he'd worn to ceremonies and funerals, the one he'd looked so handsome in, with all his commendations pinned to the chest. I held the jacket to my face, breathing in the faint smell of him that still lingered after 7 years. "I wish you were here," I whispered. "I wish you could see what she's become. What I let her become." But Patrick wasn't here. He'd never see his daughter try to destroy his widow. Maybe that was a blessing. I folded the uniform carefully and placed it back in the closet. Then I noticed something tucked in the inside pocket, a letter, yellowed with age, sealed in an envelope with my name on it in Patrick's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. The date on the letter was September 8th, 2018, the day before he died. "My darling Maggie, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I've been writing these letters for years now, just in case. The fire department is dangerous work, and I've always known I might not make it home someday. I want you to know you made my life worth living. Every single day with you was a gift. But Maggie, I need to tell you something I never had the courage to say when I was alive. I'm worried about Emily. I'm worried about the person she's becoming. I see how she treats you like an ATM, not a mother. I see how she takes and never gives back. I see you sacrificing everything for her, and I don't think it's helping her. I think it's hurting her, making her entitled, making her cruel. I've tried to talk to you about it, but you get defensive. You say I don't understand because she's our daughter. But Maggie, love isn't supposed to be one-sided. Parenthood doesn't mean letting your child drain you dry. If I'm gone, please don't let her take advantage of you. Set boundaries. Protect yourself. Don't give her everything just because you love her. Love without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling. You're the strongest woman I've ever known. You don't need to buy anyone's affection. You're worth loving for who you are, not what you give. Take care of yourself, my love. Live for yourself. Don't spend your remaining years being a martyr for a child who should be taking care of herself. I love you forever, Patrick. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Patrick had seen it. He'd known what Emily was becoming, and he'd tried to warn me, and I hadn't listened. But I was listening now. Tomorrow I would walk into that courtroom and fight, not just for my money or my house or my freedom, but for the woman Patrick had loved. The strong woman who'd gotten lost somewhere along the way, buried under years of misplaced maternal devotion. Tomorrow, I would honor his memory by finally protecting myself. Tomorrow, I would show Emily that she'd picked a fight with the wrong mother. Tomorrow, the war would end one way or another. I pressed the letter to my heart and whispered to the darkness, "I'm ready, Patrick. I'm finally ready." Friday morning arrived with the kind of crystalline clarity that felt cruel. The sky was impossibly blue, the sun warm and cheerful. Birds singing outside my window like this was just another beautiful California day. As if my entire future wasn't about to be decided in a courtroom downtown. I'd laid out my clothes the night before, a navy blue suit I'd bought for Patrick's funeral and hadn't worn since. It still fit, though it hung looser now after the weight I'd lost this past week. Patricia helped me with the buttons. My hands were shaking too badly to manage them myself. "You look strong," she said, studying me in the mirror. "Professional. Competent. Exactly what you need to look like today." But the woman staring back at me didn't look strong. She looked terrified. We left at 7:30 for a 9 o'clock hearing, paranoid about traffic or parking or any of the 1,000 things that could make us late. Marcus had been clear. Being even 5 minutes late gives them ammunition. "See, Your Honor, she can't even manage to arrive on time." The Los Angeles Superior Court building loomed ahead, all concrete and glass and the weight of justice or injustice, depending on which side of the courtroom you sat on. My stomach rolled as we approached. Patricia squeezed my hand. Whatever happens in there, you're not alone. Remember that. Inside, the security line moved with agonizing slowness. Every beep of the metal detector made me jump. My purse got flagged. I'd forgotten about the small scissors in my makeup bag. The guard confiscated them with a bored expression while I apologized repeatedly, my voice too high, too anxious. See? I could already hear Emily's lawyer saying, "She's confused, disorganized, brought prohibited items to court." Department 17 was on the third floor. As we rode the elevator up, I felt like I was ascending to my own execution. The doors opened to a hallway full of people, lawyers in expensive suits, families clustered together whispering, the general chaos of the court system grinding through human lives. And there, at the end of the hall, I saw them. Emily, Kevin, Robert Chen, and two other men I didn't recognize, their lawyers, presumably. Emily wore a black dress that made her look somber and dutiful, her hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She looked like a worried daughter, not a predator. Kevin stood close to her, his hand on her back in a protective gesture that made me want to scream. Our eyes met across that hallway. For one suspended moment, I saw something flicker in her face. Was it doubt? Guilt? But then her expression hardened, and she looked away, leaning into Kevin and whispering something that made him glare at me with open hostility. My daughter, my baby girl, now my enemy. The pain was so sharp I gasped, my hand flying to my chest. Patricia steadied me, her voice urgent. "Breathe, Maggie. Don't let them see you fall apart. Breathe." I forced air into my lungs, forced my feet to move toward the courtroom doors, forced myself to walk past Emily without looking at her, though I could feel her presence like heat from a fire. Inside Department 17, Marcus was already there, setting up at the respondents' table, the table for people defending themselves. Emily and her team would sit at the petitioners' table, the accusers. The symbolism wasn't lost on me. Our witnesses began arriving. Dr. Patel with her briefcase full of files, Dr. Kim with her laptop, Detective Morrison in his dress uniform, Catherine Torres looking official and determined. Sarah Chen from the bank, nervous but resolute. Dr. Reynolds, my physician of 15 years, looking confused about why he was here but willing to help. Howard Brenner, elderly but sharp-eyed. Ruth Goldstein, who gave me an encouraging nod. And Dolores, who'd insisted on coming even though she wasn't scheduled to testify, just in case. We looked like an army. I felt like a fraud leading them into battle. At 8:55, the bailiff called out, "All rise. Department 17 of the Los Angeles Superior Court is now in session, the Honorable Judge Robert Mitchell presiding." Judge Mitchell entered, a man in his early 60s with steel gray hair, and an expression that gave nothing away. He looked stern, unmoved. The kind of judge who'd seen everything and believed very little. My heart sank. This was the man who would decide my fate. "Please be seated," he said, his voice carrying that particular authority that comes from years on the bench. "We're here for the matter of conservatorship of Margaret Sullivan. I've reviewed the petitions from both sides. This is quite a situation we have here." He looked directly at me for the first time, and I couldn't read his expression. Sympathy? Skepticism? Nothing at all? "Before we begin with testimony, I want to address the elephant in the room." He picked up a document. "Yesterday, Judge Hernandez dismissed a restraining order in a related matter, finding that evidence submitted by the petitioners," he gestured toward Emily's table, "was fabricated." "That's a serious allegation, Mr. Chen." He looked at Robert Chen. "As an attorney, I assume you're aware of the implications of submitting false evidence to a court?" Robert Chen stood smoothly, his lawyer mask perfectly in place. "Your Honor, if I may address that, the restraining order matter is separate from these proceedings. And I would note that my son and daughter-in-law acted on information they believed to be true. If there were technical issues with the evidence format, that was an honest mistake, not deliberate fabrication." "Technical issues?" My hands clenched into fists under the table. They'd created fake texts from whole cloth, and he was calling it a technical issue? Marcus stood. "Your Honor, if I may respond, these weren't technical issues. A forensic analysis, which we have an expert here to testify about, proves the messages were created using a text fabrication app and never sent from my client's phone. This wasn't a mistake. This was perjury. Judge Mitchell held up his hand. We'll get to that. For now, I'm noting it as a credibility concern. Let's proceed with opening statements. Mr. Chen, you first. Robert Chen approached the podium with the confidence of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. His opening statement was a masterpiece of manipulation. Your Honor, this is a heartbreaking case. Margaret Sullivan is a woman who dedicated her life to her family. She raised her daughter alone after her husband's tragic death. She worked as a nurse for decades, caring for others. She deserves our compassion and our protection. But, Your Honor, the evidence will show that Mrs. Sullivan is no longer capable of managing her own affairs. She's become paranoid, hostile, making wild accusations against the daughter who loves her. She's cut off all financial support to her family without rational explanation, leaving her own granddaughter at risk of homelessness. Mrs. Sullivan has fallen under the influence of neighbors and attorneys who are clearly taking advantage of her vulnerable mental state. They've isolated her from her family, filled her head with paranoid delusions about financial exploitation, and are now helping her resist the very people trying to save her. We have medical experts who will testify to her cognitive decline. We have witnesses who've observed concerning behaviors. We have documentation of erratic decisions. Your Honor, Emily Chen loves her mother. She's here today not to hurt her, but to help her, to ensure she gets the care she needs before it's too late. We're asking this court to grant conservatorship so that Emily can protect her mother from further harm. Thank you. He sat down, and I wanted to vomit. He'd made it sound so reasonable, so compassionate, made Emily sound like a hero and me like a victim who couldn't see I needed saving. Marcus stood for our opening. His approach was completely different, direct, factual, angry on my behalf. Your Honor, what you just heard was a beautiful story. It's also a lie. The evidence will show that Margaret Sullivan is a fully competent, mentally sound woman who made the mistake of being too generous to her daughter. Over 4 years, she gave Emily Chen and her husband $847,472. Not a penny of it repaid, not a word of thanks. Just constant demands for more. When Mrs. Sullivan finally said no, when she finally protected what little she has left, her daughter retaliated. Not with concern or compassion, but with a calculated campaign to have her declared incompetent. The petitioners submitted fabricated evidence to obtain a restraining order. They recruited friends to lie about witnessing confusion. They hired a psychiatrist who never actually examined Mrs. Sullivan but was willing to sign a statement declaring her incompetent. Your Honor, this isn't about a worried daughter trying to help her declining mother. This is about financial predation. This is about a daughter who's been treating her mother like an ATM, and when the ATM stopped dispensing cash, decided to break it open by force. We have 9 witnesses who will testify to Mrs. Sullivan's competency, her sound judgment, and the systematic abuse she's endured. We have medical evaluations, financial records, police reports. We have the truth. And the truth is that Margaret Sullivan doesn't need to be saved from herself. She needs to be protected from her own daughter. The courtroom was dead silent when Marcus sat down. I glanced at Emily. Her face was flushed, her jaw tight. Kevin's hand was on her arm, probably to keep her from reacting. Judge Mitchell made a note on his pad. Let's begin with testimony. Mr. Chen, call your first witness. We call Dr. Vanessa Whitmore. The psychiatrist who'd tried to ambush me on my lawn walked to the stand, took her oath, and settled into the witness chair with practiced ease. She'd done this before, probably many times. Robert Chen led her through her credentials, impressive on paper, designed to make her sound like an unimpeachable expert. Then he got to the meat of it. Dr. Whitmore, did you have occasion to observe Margaret Sullivan? Yes. I was asked by the family to conduct a preliminary assessment on October 10th. I observed Mrs. Sullivan at her residence. And what were your observations? Mrs. Sullivan displayed several concerning signs. She was hostile and paranoid, making accusations against her family members. She refused to cooperate with assessment. She showed poor judgment in her decision-making. Based on my observations, I believe she's experiencing cognitive decline consistent with early-stage dementia. And did you recommend intervention? Yes. I recommended immediate psychiatric evaluation and possible conservatorship for her own protection. Marcus's cross-examination was surgical. Dr. Whitmore, how long did you observe Mrs. Sullivan? Approximately 5 to 7 minutes. 5 to 7 minutes. And in that time, you diagnosed her with dementia? I said signs consistent with dementia. Further evaluation would be needed for formal diagnosis. Did you conduct any cognitive tests, memory assessments, any standard diagnostic protocols? The circumstances didn't allow for formal testing. So you diagnosed dementia without any actual testing, based solely on the fact that she was angry at her family and told you to leave her property? She displayed paranoid ideation. Or she displayed appropriate anger at a stranger who showed up uninvited with her daughter and son-in-law trying to conduct an involuntary psychiatric evaluation. Isn't that a more reasonable interpretation? Dr. Whitmore's composure cracked slightly. In my professional opinion, your professional opinion based on 5 minutes of observation, no testing, and complete reliance on information provided by people who have a financial interest in having her declared incompetent. No further questions. If you find this part truly thought-provoking, go ahead and hit like to show your support. Do you feel the same way as the character in this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. The next witness was Barbara Chen, Kevin's mother. Her testimony was exactly what I expected. I'd been confused during her visit, hostile, making wild accusations. Marcus destroyed her on cross by simply asking, "Mrs. Chen, did Emily tell you she'd taken $847,000 from her mother?" She said it was around $300,000. So Emily lied to you about the amount. By $547,000. Does that concern you? Barbara hesitated. I'm sure there was a misunderstanding. Or Emily lied to you because the real number would have made you question her motives. No further questions. Emily's friend Jennifer testified next. Then the hairstylist Cynthia. Then another friend, whose name I couldn't even remember. Each one had a story about me seeming confused or forgetful, or not myself. Each one crumbled under Marcus's cross-examination when he asked for specific examples, dates, concrete details. Can you give me an example of something specific Mrs. Sullivan forgot? Well, she just seemed forgetful. But what specifically did she forget? I don't remember exactly, but... So, you're testifying that she forgot things, but you can't remember what she forgot. I see. By the time Robert Chen rested his case, his witnesses looked less like concerned citizens and more like people parroting a script they'd been fed. Then it was our turn. Marcus called Dr. Patel first. Her testimony was devastating in its clarity. I conducted a comprehensive cognitive evaluation of Mrs. Sullivan. She scored in the 95th percentile for her age group on memory tests. Her reasoning, judgment, and decision-making abilities are all excellent. There is zero evidence of dementia, cognitive impairment, or any condition that would prevent her from managing her own affairs. In your professional opinion, is Mrs. Sullivan competent? Absolutely. She's one of the most cognitively intact patients I've evaluated. Robert Chen's cross-examination tried to shake her. Dr. Patel, isn't it possible for dementia patients to have good days where they seem lucid? Yes, but Mrs. Sullivan's evaluation took 3 hours and included multiple standardized tests. This wasn't about having a good day. This was about demonstrating consistent, measurable cognitive function. But you're basing this on one evaluation, one thorough, professionally conducted evaluation using evidence-based assessment tools, which is more than Dr. Whitmore did with her 5-minute observation. Score 1 for our side. Dr. Kim testified next, walking the judge through her forensic analysis with devastating precision. She showed the fake texts, explained the metadata, revealed the watermark from the text generator app. These messages were created on a computer on October 15th at 4:17 p.m. from an IP address registered to Kevin Chen's home internet service. They were never sent from any phone. They are, quite literally, fiction presented as fact. Judge Mitchell's expression darkened as he studied the evidence. Are you saying the petitioners created fake threats and submitted them to a court? That's exactly what I'm saying, Your Honor, and I can prove it beyond any doubt. When Robert Chen tried to cross-examine, Dr. Kim annihilated every question with technical precision. By the end, even he looked rattled. Detective Morrison testified about the thefts, the unauthorized entry, the pattern of escalation he'd observed. In my 15 years working elder abuse cases, this is one of the clearest examples of financial exploitation I've encountered. Catherine Torres from APS testified about her assessment, her findings, her recommendation for protective services, not for me, but from Emily. Sarah Chen from Wells Fargo testified about my decades of competent financial management. Mrs. Sullivan's accounts were always impeccably managed, until she started making transfers to her daughter. That's when I saw her finances drain. Not because she was incompetent, but because she was being exploited. Dr. Reynolds, my physician, testified that I had no medical conditions affecting cognition, no prescriptions for mental health issues, no documented concerns in 15 years of treating me. Howard Brenner testified as an expert about elder abuse patterns, walking the judge through the textbook signs: financial dependency creation, escalation when money stops, false incompetency claims, manufactured evidence. I've seen this exact pattern dozens of times. The abuser isn't concerned about the parent's welfare. They're concerned about their cash flow. Ruth Goldstein testified about her own experience, the parallels to my case, the way financial predators use the legal system as a weapon. By the time Marcus rested, we'd built an overwhelming case. But then came the moment I'd been dreading. "I'd like to call Margaret Sullivan to the stand," Marcus said. My legs nearly gave out as I stood. Patricia squeezed my hand one last time. Dolores nodded encouragement. I walked to the witness stand on unsteady legs, feeling Emily's eyes boring into me from across the courtroom. I was sworn in, right hand raised, left hand on the Bible, swearing to tell the truth. As if truth mattered in a system where lies could be packaged as concern. I sat down and finally looked at Emily. She was crying. Perfect tears rolling down her cheeks, dabbing at them with a tissue, playing the heartbroken daughter to perfection. And I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a vast emptiness where my love for her used to be. Marcus began gently. "Mrs. Sullivan, can you tell the court about your relationship with your daughter?" I took a breath, looked at the judge instead of Emily, just like Marcus had taught me. "I loved her more than anything in the world," I said, my voice steady, despite the tears threatening to fall. "From the moment she was born, she was my everything. Especially after her father died. I thought, if I just gave her enough, loved her enough, supported her enough, she'd be okay." "And how much support did you provide?" $847,472 over 4 years. Mortgage, down payment, IVF, cars, furniture, vacations, credit cards, medical bills. Everything she asked for, everything she needed, and everything she didn't need but wanted anyway. Why did you stop?" This was the crucial question, the one that would either save me or condemn me. Because she missed my 68th birthday to go to a party for her husband's family, and when I asked her about it, she told me I was being dramatic. She told me I was exhausting. She said I was being manipulative. My voice cracked, but I pushed through. And I realized I'd given her everything. Everything I had, everything I was, and it would never be enough, because she didn't love me. She loved what I could give her. And when I had nothing left to give, she tried to take even that. She tried to take my freedom, my home, my dignity, my right to control my own life. "Are you competent to manage your own affairs, Mrs. Sullivan?" "Yes." "Do you understand the financial decisions you've made?" "Yes. I understand I was exploited. I understand I enabled it. And I understand that I have to protect myself now, even if it means losing my daughter forever." I looked at Emily then, really looked at her, because the truth is, I already lost her. I lost her a long time ago. I just didn't want to see it. The courtroom was silent. Even Emily had stopped her performance tears. Judge Mitchell leaned forward. "Mrs. Sullivan, one question from me. If I deny this conservatorship, if I rule that you're competent and free to make your own choices, what will you do?" "I'll live my life, Your Honor. I'll travel. I'll spend time with my sister. I'll volunteer. I'll do all the things I gave up while I was funding someone else's dreams. And I'll pray that someday my daughter realizes what she's done and comes back to me. Not for money, but because she actually loves me. And if she never does, then I'll mourn her. But I'll survive. Because I'm stronger than they think, stronger than I thought. Judge Mitchell made a note and nodded at Marcus. Your witness, Mr. Chen. Robert Chen approached me with that lawyer smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Mrs. Sullivan, you've painted quite a picture of yourself as a victim, but isn't it true that you gave this money freely? That no one forced you? I gave it because I was manipulated into believing it was temporary, that they'd pay me back, that they needed it to survive. But they didn't sign any loan documents, did they? You gave it as gifts. I gave it as a mother responding to what I was told were emergencies. And when you stopped giving, you cut them off completely. No warning. No discussion. Don't you think that's cruel? Marcus had prepared me for this. What's cruel is bleeding your mother dry for 4 years and then trying to have her locked up when she finally says no. Robert Chen's expression hardened. Mrs. Sullivan, isn't it true that you've always been controlling with money? That you use financial support as a way to control your daughter's life? No. That's not true. Really? Because Emily tells me you frequently threatened to cut her off if she didn't do what you wanted. That's a lie. That you held money over her head to force her to visit you, to make decisions you approved of. That's a lie. My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. I never threatened her. I gave her everything she asked for. Everything. Even when I couldn't afford it, even when it meant I had nothing left. So, you're denying that you're a controlling mother who uses money as a weapon. Objection. Marcus was on his feet. Counsel is badgering and mischaracterizing testimony. Sustained, Judge Mitchell said sharply. Mr. Chen, rephrase. But the damage was done. I was crying now, angry tears I couldn't stop. I looked like exactly what Emily wanted me to look like, emotional, unstable, out of control. Robert Chen smiled slightly. No further questions. I practically stumbled off the witness stand, feeling like I'd failed, like I'd played right into their hands. But Marcus caught my eye and gave a tiny nod. Trust the process, his expression said. Judge Mitchell looked at both sides. I'll take a 30-minute recess to review the evidence. When we return, I'll issue my ruling. Those 30 minutes felt like 30 years. We waited in a small conference room, me, Patricia, Marcus, all our witnesses. No one spoke much. What was there to say? It was in the judge's hands now. When we were called back, I felt like I was walking to my own sentencing. Judge Mitchell looked grave as we filed in and took our seats. I've reviewed all the evidence presented today, he began, and I want to be clear about something. This is one of the more troubling cases I've presided over. My heart stopped. Troubling because I seemed incompetent? Or troubling because of Emily's behavior? The evidence shows a clear and disturbing pattern. This was it. This was the moment my life changed forever. One way or another. Judge Mitchell paused, looking down at his notes. The silence in that courtroom was suffocating. I could hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears, could feel Patricia's hand gripping mine so tight it hurt. Across the aisle, I could sense Emily holding her breath, waiting. The evidence shows a clear and disturbing pattern, Judge Mitchell continued, his voice measured and grave. But perhaps not the pattern the petitioners would have this court believe. Emily shifted in her seat. I saw Robert Chen's jaw tighten. I've presided over conservatorship cases for 17 years. I've seen genuine cases where loving families intervene to protect elderly parents who can no longer care for themselves. This is not one of those cases. Oh God, was he saying? What I see here is a competent, cognitively intact woman who made the error of being too generous with her resources. Mrs. Sullivan's psychiatric evaluation is exemplary. Her medical records show no cognitive impairment. Her financial management, prior to supporting her daughter, was flawless. Her testimony today was clear, coherent, and credible. He turned to look directly at Emily and Kevin, and his expression was cold. What I also see is a calculated attempt to exploit the conservatorship system for financial gain. The fabricated text messages alone are deeply concerning. That evidence was submitted to a court under oath. That's not a mistake, Mr. Chen. That's perjury. Robert Chen stood quickly. Your Honor, if I may. You may not. Sit down. The judge's voice was sharp as a blade. Robert Chen, Saturday. Judge Mitchell continued, and each word felt like a stone lifting off my chest. The pattern of financial exploitation is clear and documented. $847,000 over 4 years, with no repayment, no acknowledgement, and when Mrs. Sullivan finally exercised her right to protect her remaining assets, she was met with threats, theft, and this legal action designed to strip her of her autonomy. He looked at Emily directly. "Miss Chen, I don't know if you believe your own narrative or if you're consciously manipulating this system. But I do know this. Your mother doesn't need to be saved from herself. If anything, she needs to be protected from you." Emily's face crumpled. But this time, when the tears came, they looked different. Not performed. Real. Tears of shock, of disbelief, of realizing she'd lost. The petition for conservatorship is denied. Mrs. Sullivan retains full control over her person and her estate. Furthermore, I'm issuing a 3-year restraining order prohibiting Emily Chen and Kevin Chen from contacting Mrs. Sullivan directly or indirectly and from coming within 100 yards of her residence. The gavel came down with a crack that echoed through the courtroom like a gunshot. Additionally, I'm referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for investigation into perjury and elder abuse charges. This court is adjourned. For a moment, I couldn't process what had happened. The words bounced around my skull without meaning. Denied. Restraining order. Referred for prosecution. I'd won. I'd actually won. The courtroom erupted. Patricia was sobbing, pulling me into a hug so tight I couldn't breathe. Marcus was shaking my hand, grinning wider than I'd ever seen. Dolores was crying and praying in Spanish. Dr. Patel gave me a thumbs up. Detective Morrison nodded with grim satisfaction. And across the aisle, Emily was screaming, "This isn't fair. This isn't fair. She's my mother. You can't do this. She's sick. She's sick. And you're letting these vultures control her." Kevin was trying to quiet her, but she shoved him away. Robert Chen was gathering papers with jerky, angry movements, his professional composure shattered. "Mom," Emily shrieked across the courtroom, her voice raw with desperation. "Mom, please, tell them you're confused. Tell them you didn't mean this. Please." I looked at her, really looked at her, my daughter, 33 years old, standing in a courtroom, screaming because a judge had ruled I was competent to control my own life. And I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just a vast, empty sadness for what could have been and never was. The bailiff was moving toward Emily now. "Ma'am, you need to calm down or I'll have to remove you from the courtroom." "This is bullshit," Emily spat. "My mother is insane and you're all helping her destroy her own life. You're going to regret this, all of you. When she's dead in a gutter because she gave all her money to scammers, that's on you. Ma'am, final warning. Fuck you. Fuck all of you. This is elder abuse. You're the ones abusing her. Can't you see that?" 2 bailiffs now, flanking her. Kevin grabbed her arm, trying to pull her toward the exit, but she wrenched free. "Mom, please, please, I'm sorry about the birthday. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you. Just tell them you made a mistake. Tell them you want me to help you. Mom." The raw desperation in her voice might have moved me once, might have made me reconsider, might have triggered that maternal instinct to comfort my crying child. But I'd learned the difference between genuine remorse and manipulation. This wasn't regret for hurting me. This was panic about losing access to my money. Marcus stepped between us, blocking her view of me. "Mrs. Chen, you need to leave now. You're in violation of the restraining order the moment you step outside this courtroom. If you continue to try to contact my client, you will be arrested." "Your client?" Emily's laugh was unhinged. "That's my mother. My mother. You stole her from me. You poisoned her against me." "No one stole anyone. Your mother made her own choices. Now leave before you're forcibly removed." The bailiffs were escorting her out now, one on each arm. Emily was still screaming, her voice echoing through the courthouse halls. "This isn't over. Do you hear me? This isn't over. I'll appeal. I'll find other lawyers. I'll prove she's incompetent. I won't let you take her from me. I won't." Her voice faded as they led her away, but the words hung in the air like smoke. Kevin followed, his face a mask of cold rage. He paused at the courtroom door to look back at me, and the hatred in his eyes was palpable. "You're going to regret this," he said quietly. "When you're old and sick and have no one, you're going to remember this day and realize you destroyed your own family for money. Enjoy your victory, Margaret. It won't last." Then he was gone, following the sound of Emily's diminishing screams. Robert Chen was the last to leave. He stopped in front of Marcus, his voice low and venomous. "You realize you've just destroyed that family? Whatever relationship they had is gone now. I hope you're proud of yourself." "I didn't destroy anything," Marcus replied evenly. "Your clients did that on their own. I just helped my client protect herself from the wreckage. We'll see about that. This isn't over." "Yes, it is. And if you come after Mrs. Sullivan again with frivolous legal actions, I'll file a complaint with the state bar for harassment. Now get out." After they left, the courtroom felt larger, quieter, like a storm had passed, leaving devastation in its wake. I sank back into my chair, suddenly exhausted beyond measure. Patricia knelt beside me, her hand on my knee. "Maggie, are you okay?" "I don't know," I whispered honestly. "I won. I should be happy. Why don't I feel happy?" "Because winning doesn't erase the pain of what you lost. You lost your daughter today, Maggie. Even though it was necessary, even though it was the right thing, it still hurts." Dolores appeared with tissues. "Mija, you didn't lose your daughter. You never had her." "Not really. Today, you just stopped pretending you did." The words were harsh but true, and somehow hearing them helped. We left through a side exit to avoid any potential confrontation outside. Marcus walked us to the parking garage, ever vigilant. As we approached my car, Patricia suddenly grabbed my arm. "Maggie, look." Someone had keyed my car. Deep scratches across the driver's side door, spelling out a message. "Ungrateful bitch." My hand started shaking. She did this. While we were inside, she did this. We don't know that Marcus started, but Detective Morrison, who'd followed us out, cut him off. "I'll file a report. And Mrs. Sullivan will check the parking garage security cameras. If it was them, that's destruction of property plus violation of the restraining order. They'd be arrested." "I don't want her arrested," I heard myself say. "I just want her to leave me alone." "Margaret," Detective Morrison said gently, "I understand. But people like this don't stop unless there are consequences. If she did this, she needs to face those consequences. Otherwise, she'll escalate." He was right. I knew he was right. But the thought of my daughter being led away in handcuffs, of Lily visiting her mother in jail. "Lily," I breathed. "Oh God. Lily, when Emily goes home and tells her what happened, what will she tell that little girl about me?" Patricia's expression was pained. "Probably nothing good." "But Maggie, Lily isn't your responsibility. She's Emily's daughter. You can't sacrifice yourself to protect a grandchild from her own mother's choices." But it hurt. God, it hurt. Lily was 4 years old, innocent in all this, and whatever poison Emily fed her about crazy grandma would shape how that child saw me for the rest of her life. I might never see my granddaughter again, might never read her stories or bake cookies with her or teach her the things grandmothers teach. The victory felt hollow suddenly. Pyrrhic. We drove home in silence, Patricia at the wheel, because I was shaking too badly to drive. When we pulled up to my house, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Someone had thrown paint on my front door. Red paint, dripping down like blood. And written in that paint, in sloppy letters, "You'll pay for this." Jesus Christ, Patricia breathed. Dolores's front door opened immediately. She must have been watching for us. She ran over, her face stricken. "Mija, I'm so sorry. I was only gone for an hour to come to court. When I got back, this, Mija." She gestured helplessly at the paint. "I called the police already. They're on their way." "When did this happen?" Detective Morrison asked, appearing beside us. He'd followed us home, apparently anticipating something like this. "Had to be while we were all in court," Dolores said. "Between 9:30 and noon. I left at 8:30, got back at 1. This was already here, so it couldn't have been Emily or Kevin. They were in court." Patricia looked at me. "Who else?" "Kevin's parents?" I suggested weakly. "Emily's friends?" Detective Morrison was photographing the paint, the message, everything. "Whoever did this, they're going to be caught. There are Ring doorbells all up and down this street. Someone's camera caught this." Within 20 minutes, 2 patrol officers arrived. Within an hour, they'd canvassed the neighbors and found it. Mr. Henderson, 3 doors down, had a camera that captured everything. The officer showed me the footage on his tablet. A silver Mercedes Barbara Chen's car pulling up at 10:47 a.m. Barbara getting out with 2 paint cans. Methodically throwing paint on my door, painting the message, then driving away. "That's Kevin's mother," I said numbly. "She did this while we were in court. While her son was trying to have me declared incompetent, his mother was vandalizing my home." "We'll arrest her," the officer said. "This is clear evidence of vandalism, plus intimidation, plus possibly conspiracy with the restraining order violation." "What restraining order violation?" "Well, if the family coordinated this attack while they were in court establishing alibis, that's conspiracy to violate the restraining order. And the message 'you'll pay for this' could be construed as a threat." The day I'd won my freedom was turning into a nightmare. By evening, after the police had left and an emergency cleaning crew had removed most of the paint from my door, I sat in my living room and finally let myself fall apart. All the adrenaline that had carried me through court drained away at once. I started shaking and couldn't stop. Patricia wrapped me in a blanket, but I couldn't get warm. My teeth were chattering like I had hypothermia. "I won," I kept saying. "I won. Why does it feel like I lost everything?" "Because in a way you did," Patricia said softly. "You lost your daughter. You lost your granddaughter. You lost the fantasy of the family you thought you had. Maggie, that's worth grieving. Just because they were toxic doesn't mean losing them doesn't hurt." Dolores brought over soup, chicken, and rice, comfort food. I managed 3 bites before my stomach rebelled. I couldn't eat, couldn't drink, could barely breathe around the crushing weight in my chest. "Is it always going to feel like this?" I asked. "No," Dolores said firmly. "Right now, it's raw, fresh, like a wound that just opened. But I promise you, Mija, it gets better, slowly, day by day, month by month. One day you'll wake up and realize you went a whole hour without thinking about her, then a whole morning, then a whole day. And the grief will still be there, but it won't be drowning you anymore." "How long did it take you to stop drowning?" "About a year, but everyone's different and you have something I didn't have: people who believe you, support, community. That makes all the difference." That night, I couldn't sleep in my own bed. The house felt wrong, contaminated by Emily's presence, by the violations, by the paint on my door. I ended up on the couch with Patricia sleeping in the chair beside me like she was standing guard. At 3 a.m., my phone rang. A blocked number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "You're going to regret what you did." Kevin's voice cold and measured. "You think a restraining order protects you? You think a judge's ruling makes you safe? You're a foolish old woman who just destroyed your own family. And trust me, Margaret, you will pay for this. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But you will pay." The line went dead. I was shaking so hard I dropped the phone. Patricia woke immediately, alert to my distress. "He called. Kevin called. He threatened me." "Did you record it?" "No, I didn't think." "It's okay. We'll tell Detective Morrison in the morning. He violated the restraining order. That's an arrestable offense." But the fear was real and visceral. The restraining order was just a piece of paper. What would stop them from coming to my house? From hurting me? I'd humiliated them in court, destroyed their plan, made them look like criminals in front of a judge. People had killed for less. "I'm not safe here," I whispered. "Patricia, I'm not safe in my own home." "Then we make you safe. Tomorrow, we install more cameras, better locks, an alarm system. We make this house a fortress." Or, Dolores said from the doorway she'd heard the commotion and come over, "You could come stay with me for a while, just until things calm down. You'd be safer with someone else there. And my son Raphael, he's there most evenings. He's built like a tank. No one's getting past him." The offer was tempting, but something in me rebelled against it. "No," I said slowly. "No, I'm not going to be driven out of my own home. This is my house. Patrick and I bought it together. We made it a home. I raised Emily here. I'm not letting her take this from me too." Even as I said it, I wondered if I was being brave or stupid. But I was done running, done hiding, done letting fear control my choices. I'd won in court today. Now I had to win the aftermath. Even if the aftermath was more terrifying than the battle itself. Tomorrow, I would call the security company. Tomorrow, I would file another police report about Kevin's threat. Tomorrow, I would start rebuilding my life from the ashes Emily had tried to burn it to. But tonight, I would sit on this couch with my sister beside me and my neighbor watching over me, and I would survive until morning. because that's what survivors do. They survive. One terrible night at a time. Morning arrived with the wail of sirens. I'd finally drifted into an uneasy sleep around 5 a.m., only to jolt awake at 6:30 to the sound of police cars pulling up outside. My first thought was panic. They were here for me. Somehow Emily had convinced them I was dangerous. This was it. I was going to be taken away. But Patricia was already at the window, and her expression was something between shock and grim satisfaction. "Maggie, come see this. You need to see this." I stumbled to the window, my body aching from a night on the couch. Outside, 3 police cars had surrounded a vehicle parked across the street, Kevin's BMW. Kevin himself was being led out in handcuffs, his face a mask of fury. Behind him, officers were searching the car. Detective Morrison stood supervising, and when he saw us watching, he walked over and knocked on the door. "Mrs. Sullivan," he said when I opened it, "I wanted to let you know we arrested Kevin Chen about 20 minutes ago at his home. The threatening phone call you reported last night, combined with the paint vandalism his mother committed, gave us enough for a warrant. We're searching his vehicle now." "What are you looking for?" His expression was carefully neutral. Based on the pattern of escalation and the nature of the threats, we obtained a warrant to search for weapons, evidence of stalking, anything that might indicate plans for further harassment or violence. The words hung in the air. Plans for violence. Against me. "You think he was going to hurt me?" My voice came out small and frightened. "I think when people feel cornered and desperate, they do unpredictable things. Better to be safe." We watched as officers pulled items from Kevin's trunk. A baseball bat. A crowbar. Zip ties. Duct tape. And my stomach lurched a folder with my name on it, stuffed with papers. Detective Morrison's radio crackled. He listened, his expression darkening, then looked at me. "Mrs. Sullivan, we found some concerning items. Can I come in to discuss this privately?" In my living room, with Patricia and Dolores flanking me like bodyguards, Detective Morrison laid it out. The folder contained extensive documentation on you. Your daily routines when you leave the house, where you shop, what time you come home. Photos of you at the grocery store, at the bank, at your doctor's office. He's been following you, Mrs. Sullivan, documenting your movements. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. For how long? Based on the dates on the photos, at least 3 weeks, since before the conservatorship filing. He pulled out his own folder. We also found internet search history on his phone. How to prove someone has dementia. How to have someone committed against their will. What happens if elderly person dies intestate? And, disturbingly, how long until a missing person is declared dead? Patricia made a strangled sound. Dolores crossed herself and muttered prayers in Spanish. "You're saying he was researching how to make me disappear?" I couldn't say the word. Couldn't voice the horrifying possibility. "I'm saying his search history shows a concerning escalation. Combined with the tools in his trunk, zip ties, duct tape, and the stalking behavior, we have enough to charge him with felony stalking, criminal threats, and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. He'll be held without bail pending arraignment." "And Emily?" The name felt like poison on my tongue. "We're picking her up now. She'll be charged as an accessory. She was aware of the stalking, based on text messages we found between them. She's also facing perjury charges for the fake text messages and conspiracy charges related to the conservatorship fraud." I should have felt relief, victory, safety, but all I felt was a sick, hollow dread. My daughter was being arrested. My son-in-law had apparently been planning God knows what against me. This nightmare just kept getting worse. What about Lily? The question burst out of me. If they're both arrested, what happens to Lily? Child Protective Services will be contacted. Do they have family who can take temporary custody? Kevin's parents. Barbara, who'd thrown paint on my door. Robert, who'd orchestrated this whole legal assault. Those were the people who would get Lily. Oh God. I sank onto the couch, my head in my hands. That poor baby. None of this is her fault. She's going to grow up knowing her parents were arrested because of her grandmother. She's going to hate me. She's going to grow up knowing her parents broke the law, Patricia corrected firmly. Maggie, you didn't do this. They did. Don't take responsibility for their choices. But how could I not? If I'd just kept giving them money, kept being their ATM, none of this would have happened. Lily would have her parents. I'd be broke and miserable, but at least my granddaughter wouldn't be traumatized. The thought was irrational, and I knew it. But maternal guilt doesn't operate on logic. Detective Morrison left to oversee Emily's arrest. I couldn't watch. Couldn't bear to see my daughter led away in handcuffs. Instead, I sat on my couch and stared at nothing while Patricia made phone calls and Dolores made tea nobody drank. At 9 a.m., Marcus called. "Margaret, I just heard. Are you okay?" "I don't know what I am. I know this is hard, but you're safe now. That's what matters. Kevin Chen is facing serious charges. He won't be able to get near you." "He was planning something, Marcus," Detective Morrison found. My voice broke. He was researching how long until a missing person is declared dead. The silence on the other end was heavy. "Jesus, Margaret, you did the right thing. If you'd backed down, if you'd let them win in court, there's no telling what might have happened. You saved yourself." Had I? Or had I just traded one nightmare for another? At 11 a.m., the doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Barbara and Robert Chen standing on my porch. No paint cans this time. Just matching expressions of cold fury. "Don't answer it," Patricia said immediately. "They can't do anything. The police are watching." I gestured to the patrol car parked across the street Detective Morrison had arranged for periodic drive-bys. Against everyone's advice, I opened the door, but I didn't invite them in. "Yes?" Barbara's eyes were red and swollen, but her voice was pure venom. "You destroyed our family. Are you happy now? My son is in jail. Emily is in jail. Our granddaughter is being taken by CPS because of you." "Because of me?" The accusation was so absurd I almost laughed. "Your son was stalking me. He had zip ties and duct tape in his car. He was researching how to make people disappear. But somehow this is my fault? He was protecting himself, documenting an unstable person who'd been threatening his family. I never threatened anyone. Your son created fake text messages and submitted them to a court. That's perjury. That's a crime. And your son's wife, your daughter-in-law, who you defended so passionately, stole $847,000 from me. But I'm the villain here?" Robert Chen stepped forward, his lawyer mask completely gone, replaced by naked rage. "You selfish bitch. You couldn't just help your family. You had to destroy them. You had to make yourself the victim. You had to turn everyone against them." "I didn't turn anyone against them. They did that themselves. By lying. By stealing. By trying to have me declared incompetent so they could take what little I have left." "You're going to regret this," Barbara hissed. "When you're old and dying and have no one, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember that you chose money over family. And you'll die alone, Margaret. Completely alone." The words were meant to wound. And they did. Because part of me feared she was right. That I'd end up alone. That I'd traded my only family for my freedom. That the price of protecting myself was eternal loneliness. But another part of me, the part that had grown stronger over these terrible days, knew the truth. "I'm already alone," I said quietly. "I've been alone for years. The difference is, now I'm alone by choice instead of by exploitation. Now I'm alone with dignity. And Barbara, Robert, you need to leave my property now. Because you're in violation of the restraining order that extends to harassment by proxy. We're not harassing. You came to my home to threaten me and blame me for your son's crimes. That's harassment. Leave now, or I call the police officer sitting in that car across the street." They left. But not before Robert turned back with one final shot. "We're suing you. Civil court. For alienation of affection. For intentional infliction of emotional distress. For everything we can think of. We'll take everything you have left. Try it. And I'll countersue for the $847,000 your son and daughter-in-law stole from me. See who comes out ahead." After they drove away, I collapsed against the door frame, shaking so badly my teeth chattered. Patricia caught me before I fell. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered. "I can't keep fighting. I'm so tired, Patty. I'm so tired of being strong." "Then don't be strong right now. Just be. Let yourself fall apart. That's what I'm here for." And I did. I fell apart completely, sobbing in my sister's arms in my entryway, grieving for everything I'd lost. Not just Emily though, God. Losing Emily hurt more than I could bear, but the fantasy of family I'd clung to. The belief that blood meant loyalty, that motherhood guaranteed love, that sacrifice would be rewarded with gratitude. All lies. Beautiful, comforting lies that had nearly destroyed me. That afternoon, Marcus came by with news. Emily and Kevin were arraigned. Kevin's bail was set at $200,000. He's considered a flight risk, given the stalking evidence. Emily's bail is $75,000. Robert and Barbara are trying to raise it, but between their son's defense and Emily's, they're financially stretched. Good, I said, and meant it. Let them feel what it's like to be drained dry by family. There's something else. The DA wants to meet with you. They're considering charging Emily and Kevin with conspiracy to commit elder abuse, perjury, fraud, theft, and based on the evidence in Kevin's car, potentially attempted kidnapping or worse. Attempted kidnapping? The search history, the surveillance, the tools. It paints a picture of someone planning something. The DA thinks they can make a case that Kevin was planning to forcibly commit you to a psychiatric facility using manufactured evidence and, if necessary, force. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the couch. He was going to have me locked up, against my will, using force if necessary. That's the theory. And if that's true, Margaret, you saved your own life by fighting back. If you'd lost in court, if they'd gotten conservatorship, they'd have had legal authority over you. They could have put you anywhere, done anything. That night, I couldn't sleep again. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. Even though Kevin was in jail, even though Emily was in jail, I felt hunted, watched, unsafe in my own home. At 2 a.m., I found myself in Emily's old bedroom, the room I'd kept as a shrine to her childhood, unchanged since she moved out at 22. Her trophies from soccer still lined the shelves. Her prom photo still hung on the wall, Emily in a blue dress, smiling like the world was hers for the taking. Her stuffed animals still sat arranged on the bed, waiting for a girl who'd never come back. I looked at those artifacts of innocence and tried to find the moment it all went wrong. When did that smiling girl in the prom photo turn into the woman who'd tried to destroy me? Was it gradual? Or was there a specific moment when greed overtook love? Or had I just been blind all along, seeing what I wanted to see instead of what was really there? On her desk was a framed photo from her 5th birthday party. Emily covered in cake, laughing, hugging me tight. I remembered that day. She'd been so happy, so full of joy and love and innocent sweetness. I picked up the frame, studying that little girl's face. "Where did you go?" I whispered. Where did my Emily go? But I knew the answer. That Emily had never existed. Or if she had, she'd been replaced long ago by someone who saw the world as a zero-sum game. Someone who measured love in dollars and relationships in transactions. I set the frame down carefully and looked around the room one last time. This shrine to the past served no purpose except to trap me in fantasy. Tomorrow I would pack it all up. Donate the trophies, give away the stuffed animals, turn this room into something new. A guest room, an office, a craft space. Something that looked forward instead of back. Because I couldn't move forward while living in a museum to a daughter who no longer existed. At 3 a.m., my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize, but something made me answer. "Mom?" Emily's voice. Calling from jail, probably. Small and broken and nothing like the screaming harpy from the courtroom. "Mom, please. I need bail money. I need to get out of here. Please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Kevin, he pushed me. He said we had to do this or we'd lose everything. I should have said no. I should have stopped him. But I was scared. Please, Mom. Please help me. I'm your daughter. You can't leave me in here." The manipulation was so transparent, it would have been laughable if it wasn't so pathetic. Blame Kevin. Play the victim. Pull on maternal heartstrings. The same pattern. Just a different crisis. "No," I said simply. "What?" "No. I'm not giving you bail money. I'm not helping you. You made your choices, Emily. Now you live with the consequences. But I'm your daughter. You can't just abandon me." What kind of mother? The kind of mother who finally learned that love doesn't mean being a doormat. The kind of mother who chooses self-preservation over enabling. The kind of mother you needed years ago but didn't get because I was too weak to say no. Please. Now she was crying. Real tears from the sound of it. Mom, please. I'll pay you back. All of it. I swear. Just help me this one last time. Please. I'm begging you. And there it was. The promise I'd heard 100 times before. I'll pay you back. This is the last time. I swear. All lies. All manipulation. Emily, I hope you get the help you need. I hope someday you realize what you've done and find a way to be better, but I can't help you anymore. It's not good for you, and it's destroying me. I love you. I'll always love you. But I can't save you. You have to save yourself. If you hang up, if you leave me here, I will never forgive you. You'll never see Lily again. Never. I'll make sure of it. Is that what you want? To lose your granddaughter forever? The threat was meant to break me. Might have broken me even a week ago. But I'd already lost Lily. Had probably never really had her, if I was honest. Emily had used her as a weapon from the start. And as much as it hurt, as much as I'd grieved the relationship that could have been, I couldn't let myself be held hostage anymore. I'm sorry you feel that way, I said. Goodbye, Emily. I hung up, blocked the number, and sat in the darkness of my living room, feeling like I'd just severed the last tie to my old life. It hurt. God, it hurt worse than anything I'd ever felt. Worse than Patrick's death, because at least he'd loved me truly. This was the death of an illusion, and illusions die harder than reality. But I'd survived. I'd said no. I'd chosen myself. And tomorrow I would wake up and start building a life that belonged to me alone. A life without Emily. Without the constant crisis. Without the manipulation and exploitation. A life of freedom. The price was steep. The loneliness was real. But for the first time in 4 years, the future belonged to me. And that was worth every painful step it had taken to get here. The next morning, I woke to find Patricia had already started dismantling Emily's shrine room. Boxes lined the hallway, labeled in her neat handwriting, "Donate, trash, keep." The question mark on that last box felt significant. What was worth keeping from a relationship built on lies? I hope you don't mind, Patricia said when she saw me standing in the doorway. I couldn't sleep, and I figured you'd need help with this eventually. But if it's too soon, no. My voice was hoarse from crying but steady. No. It's not too soon. It's 4 years too late. We worked in silence for a while, sorting through the detritus of Emily's childhood. Each item felt like a small death. The soccer trophy from the championship game, where I'd screamed myself hoarse cheering for her. The report card with straight A's that I'd framed and hung on the fridge for a year. The Mother's Day card she'd made in 2nd grade, construction paper and glitter glue, with the words "I love you, Mommy" in crayon. When had that girl who'd made that card turned into the woman who'd called me from jail demanding money? Patricia held up a jewelry box, cheap plastic, designed to look like a treasure chest. What about this? I opened it. Inside was a tangle of costume jewelry, friendship bracelets, and at the bottom, a small velvet pouch. I poured its contents into my palm and froze. My mother's pearls, my wedding ring, Patrick's firefighter badge. The stolen items. Right here. Hidden in Emily's childhood jewelry box. Oh my God, Patricia breathed. She had them here the whole time? But that didn't make sense. Emily had moved out years ago. She wouldn't have hidden stolen items in a room she no longer occupied. Unless she put them here after she stole them, I said slowly. She broke into my house, stole these things, and hid them here, probably planning to retrieve them later. Or maybe the realization made me sick. Maybe she was planting evidence, making it look like I'd misplaced them, more proof I was confused. Patricia's face darkened with fury. That manipulative. She stopped herself, looking at me. Maggie, this is good. This is evidence. She had stolen property in your home. That's proof of the theft. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. Even Emily's childhood room had been weaponized against me. Even this space I'd preserved as a loving memorial had been violated and used. I called Detective Morrison. He arrived within 30 minutes, photographed the items in situ, bagged them as evidence. This strengthens the theft case significantly, he said. Having the items hidden in your home items she clearly had access to since she had keys proves she took them and proves she was planning something with them. Can I have them back? I asked, looking at Patrick's badge in the evidence bag. After trial, yes. For now, they're evidence. I'm sorry, Mrs. Sullivan. After he left, Patricia and I continued sorting. In a box at the back of Emily's closet, I found something that made my blood run cold. A notebook. Spiral bound, the kind teenagers use for school. But the pages weren't filled with class notes. They were filled with calculations, plans, schemes. Page 1. Mom's assets with estimates of my house value, retirement accounts, life insurance, all inflated. She'd assumed I had far more than I actually did. Page 2. Monthly expenses listing Emily and Kevin's bills, with notes like, can probably get Mom to cover this and tell her it's an emergency. Page 3. A timeline. Phase 1. Establish dependency. Phase 2. Maximize extraction. Phase 3. Secure conservatorship or inheritance. She'd written it down. She'd literally planned out how to exploit me. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the notebook. Patricia picked it up, read it, and her face went white. When did she write this? I flipped to the front. A date scrawled in the corner. January 2090. 6 years ago. Emily had been planning this for 6 years. Since before Kevin. Before the marriage. Before Lily. This wasn't opportunistic greed. This was premeditated exploitation. She never loved me, I whispered. Not for years. Maybe not ever. I was just a long-term investment to her. Patricia wrapped her arms around me, and I sobbed into her shoulder. Not the cathartic tears of release, but the hollow, broken tears of someone who'd just discovered the depth of betrayal ran far deeper than they'd imagined. Everything had been a lie. Every I love you, Mom. Every hug. Every moment I'd thought we were bonding. She'd been calculating, planning, scheming. The notebook went into an evidence bag, too. Another piece of the prosecution's case. Another nail in Emily's coffin. Another knife in my heart. That afternoon, Marcus called with more news. Margaret, you need to sit down for this. I was already sitting, but I braced myself anyway. The DA's office has been going through Emily and Kevin's financial records. They found something. Several somethings, actually. What? Credit cards in your name that you didn't know about. 3 of them. Total balance of $92,000. They've been making minimum payments to keep you from getting collection notices, but the cards were maxed out, purchases going back 3 years. My vision blurred. 3 credit cards, $92,000. I didn't open those. I know. They committed identity theft. Used your social security number, forged your signature. The credit card companies will reverse the charges once we prove fraud, but Margaret, this brings the total amount they stole to over $939,000. $939,000, nearly $1 million. My entire life savings, Patrick's insurance, everything we'd worked for gone. There's more, Marcus continued, his voice gentle. They took out a second mortgage on your house without your knowledge. It was flagged because the signature didn't quite match bank records, so it was never finalized, but they tried. They were attempting to extract another $300,000 from your home equity. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process this. They hadn't just been bleeding me dry, they'd been trying to take everything. If that second mortgage had gone through, I'd have been drowning in debt I didn't even know existed. Why? The word came out as a sob. Why did they need so much?